Alright, I suppose since I've got a new video camera, I should actually film a Christmas video. We haven't done that in a while, I don't think. Since the King and Duchess and all these royals are doing videos. Why not me, huh? Well, my tree looks a little more respectable there. Let's just zoom in on that, if we can find the zoom on this damn thing. One of my favorite Christmas cards, given to me last year, actually, as a kitty cat. Of course, Christmas and New Year's, I guess, for me is extra special because I got a birthday coming up in a couple of days as well. It's a time to, I guess, reflect on the year that was and look ahead to the year that will be. Of course, losing Dasher the cat is probably the most significant and unfortunate event, I guess, that's happened to me this year. Dasher was my kitty cat for 13 years, and we believe he lived to be approximately 16 or 17, so that's a pretty good long life. Still, it's been awkward. So used to having at least one cat. I've had 2 cats over the years. I've had a couple of hamsters. I've had a gerbil. Now it's just me and my stuffed animals. I got a doggy here today. He woofs. Can you woof? There you go. Stuffed animals are a little easier to take care of than live animals. So, yeah. Well, it's interesting. A year ago, I was working at the Supreme Court, and I had just received a layoff notice. How friggin' wonderful. A couple days before Christmas, Jennifer, you're being laid off. You're being bumped out of your job by someone who has more seniority. So I'm like, well, isn't that an interesting way to celebrate Christmas and my birthday and New Year's? And so we spent January unemployed and looking for work. Something, unfortunately, I have a lot of experience doing. But the good news is I found another job at the provincial court. Which was an even further walk away from where I live. St. John's, Newfoundland is a very hilly city. And walking up and down hills all day, going to work and then walking up and down hills, well, it's not easy. So I finally broke down and learned the bus route of this city, and I actually realized that there's a bus that will pick you up downtown, and it will zigzag all over the place, but sort of end up in the vicinity of my home, leaving me with a half a mile walk, I guess. So I now use the bus. Isn't that pretty cool? Now, the bus isn't always on time, and something more recently, they took the benches away. It's nice to be able to sit on a bench while you wait for the bus, especially if you're overweight, old, have bad backs, bad knees, arthritis. Shame on you. I don't know if it's Metrobus or the city who took that bench away from Parade Street. Please put it back. Anyway, so provincial court, that was kind of cool. I've now worked for the Crown, the police, Supreme Court, and provincial court. And it was a very junior entry-level job, but it was at least nice that after a month off work I found something. And it's always fun to have a new experience, and I met some new people, learned a lot about, well, the differences, I guess, between the provincial court and Supreme Court. Doing information management, it was fun doing information management again. I reconnected with a information management group of people within the Newfoundland government. We had one of them Zoom things, the telephone, well, it's I guess an internet telephone video conference, and reconnected with some people I haven't seen in a long time. Of course, Dasher passed in April, and in May I managed to find another job a little bit higher on the pay scale, so I returned to the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary Police Department. Unlike my previous role, where I was doing 12-hour shift works answering 911 telephone calls, this is actually a Monday to Friday desk job behind the scenes. I'm like, isn't that lovely? the 911, the phones, the communications, it's a very stressful thing. And it's something I have great respect for anyone in customer service, especially those in the emergency services, whether it's police, fire, or ambulance. The pressure's up. You're constantly, you don't know what's going to happen every time that phone rings. And it could be you who has to save the day and talk somebody out of a rough situation. Well, at the same time, perhaps gain their trust and faith and confidence in a system, a government system that perhaps some people have negative opinions of. Anyway, so that was May, and it's now December. I'm still there. Still a little under where I'd like to be in terms of, I guess, pay scale and capabilities, but it's just nice to be back into a job. It's an analyst job. It's been a long time since I was at the analyst level. You all know my story. I was a senior analyst. I became Jennifer and went, nobody wants to hire you. Oh, we'll give you a job here. You can be a little clerk here. No, we're laying you off. Oh, go to 911. I'm not too well. I need a break from this. Okay, I'll come back. Give me something else to do. Oh, COVID. That's kind of been my career. Of course, the other big part of my year was bashing my knee in September and waiting 3 months to go see a specialist. My knee is blown up like a balloon. I can barely walk on it. Watching me try to walk is kind of like watching Terry Fox hobble along, only I'm doing it at a much slower pace. And unfortunately, when you bash your knee and you're not able to walk, you're not going to get as much exercise, and guess what we're going to do? We're going to gain weight. Fun. Oh, we're getting older, by the way. And all that marathon running and tennis I played earlier in life, now we're at the stage where our knees are full of arthritis, and our ankles, and our feet, and our back. Oh my. I look so terrible walking around. I get people coming up to me, random strangers, asking me if I'm okay. Do you need an ambulance and all this sort of stuff? And I guess it's just an indication as to how bad this injury is. I've ranted about our healthcare system. I'm going to try to keep this video positive. I finally, after 3 months, got in to see a specialist, and we're going to have an MRI on the knee, hopefully very soon. And we're going to find out what exactly is going on there. And maybe we can actually figure out how to fix it. But yeah. I've had my share of injuries over the years, but never one this bad to the point where it limits my ability to really do anything. Instead of walking to work, we're taking a lot more taxis and the cabs. Heck, we know the price of everything's gone up. Inflation, food, gas, you name it. Money that I was hoping to save up to pay off some of this fucking debt that I've been dealing with. Now I've sunk thousands, literally thousands, into taxis and more bus rides. The police station is closer to home than the courts. And if my knee wasn't beat up, I'd be walking home a lot more. But I just can't do that. I can barely walk home from the bus stop. And what's a half a mile, literally about 700, maybe 800 meters. Now it is up a hill. I live up on the mountain. You all know me, where I live. Maybe you don't. What used to be about a 6-minute walk is now taking me 25 minutes. Because I have to stop and stretch and sit. It is just absolutely brutal. And now I'm at the point where my other leg is bad, because when you have a bad knee, the other leg works extra hard to support the weight when you're walking with a limp. So now my other leg's fucked up. The knee's really painful, and I've got numbness in the ankle and the foot, and yeah, we can barely move. So what am I doing for the Christmas holidays? Nothing. I'm sitting right here at home. I have cleaned up my living room a little bit. We all know that I'm a bit of a, I wouldn't say hoarder per se, but I do have a lot of junk that just piles up. And I do have a tendency to every now and then have to clean that up, and we're trying to make some space. Just putting the tree up, it's been just finding the tree in my storage room was hell. I couldn't find my decorations, but I do have some Christmas cards that people have sent me, so yeah, Christmas is kind of a weird one for me. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm estranged from my family per se, but just the physical distance of living in Newfoundland when all your family lives, what we say, on the mainland. My family is interesting. My parents are in Nova Scotia and Ontario. Brother, cousins, aunts, uncles, everybody's nowhere near here. Most of them are in Ontario, but some of them are as far away as Saskatchewan and Alberta. So many people I haven't seen for literally probably 13 years. I'm hoping that'll change. Again, it's a lot easier to travel when you actually have enough money to pay to travel, and I've had a hell of a time just managing the bills. It sucks. I think I broke a record for most peanut butter sandwiches and craft dinner. That's the other thing. When you can't eat healthy, it's 10 times more expensive to buy healthy foods than it is to buy craft dinner, and yeah, I don't know. It's just been a really rough time for me. COVID has ruined a lot of people's lives. It's definitely played a role in mine, but we're still kicking, and maybe, just maybe, the future is still a little bit brighter than the present. That's what I'm hoping. But yeah, we're facing some tough times, and we're making the best of things. And thank goodness for my love of professional NFL football and NCAA college bowl games, because they have kept me well entertained this Christmas holiday. And sports will never let you down, folks. It's funny watching the news, seeing people struggle to travel, people getting abandoned at airports because of canceled flights, train derailments, ferries getting stuck in the middle of the ocean, whatever. And sports is always amazing to me, and it never lets you down. Luckily, I managed to find a small turkey. I didn't even do a turkey. I didn't have a Thanksgiving, really. I did try to have a U.S. Thanksgiving to watch, again, some football. But the turkeys were like triple what they cost last year, so we didn't buy one then. But I managed to find a small one. And that's another thing I missed. Dasher the cat loved turkey. And you put the damn bird in the oven, and he's going nuts in the kitchen, meowing at the oven for 3 hours. And so in Dasher's honor, we put a turkey in the oven. But you know what? When you live on your own, you have nobody to answer to but yourself, you don't have to wait till the 25th to have your turkey. I put the damn bird in the oven on the 23rd. I said, you know what? We got this damn bird. We got potatoes and stuffing. Why don't we just cook it now, and we'll have 4 or 5 days worth of food? We won't have to make craft dinner. We won't have to have any peanut butter sandwiches. We can just have the turkey dinner thing for the 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th. And yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah. It's good that I'm smiling, because I haven't done a lot of that lately. Keeping in touch with friends, internet. I haven't spent as much time keeping in touch with friends. Being in the industry I'm in, the justice system, it emotionally drains you. The work I do behind the scenes is just as emotionally challenging. What's that word? Vicarious trauma? It's like reading a horror movie, or a book, I guess. People don't realize how much work goes on behind the scenes, and I guess part of that's because it's not really appropriate for the police to kind of tell the world what they do behind the scenes. Ultimately, when there's an incident, patrol will respond, and that's usually what people see and hear about in the news, but it's the aftermath. What happens next? There's a lot of investigation, there's research. You can kind of get an idea by watching some of these crime drama TV shows. I know they're not totally the same, but if you think about it, Murdoch Mysteries, a pretty popular show here in Canada, it always starts with the murder, and then you spend an hour trying to figure out who done it. And if you remember back about 15-20 years ago, there was a show called Without a Trace that dealt with missing people and retracing their steps in their life to figure out who they were and how or why they might go missing. Bottom line, yeah, I'm dealing with some pretty difficult things to have to read every day. The content is tough. We're dealing with crime, we're dealing with violence, we're dealing with it's really sad to see what's going on in the world. And it's not just crime. We know there's people out there struggling and suffering, and it's an ongoing conversation. The healthcare system has been really taxed, and people are underemployed or out of work, so people's mental health generally is worse off, and we're seeing a lot more people dealing with mental health issues who require some sort of assistance, or people going through some sort of emergency situation, a crisis situation. And unfortunately, law enforcement is often brought in to help deal with it because the healthcare system can't figure out how to deal with it on their own. And I think it's important that we all work together and communicate, and that's something I'm hoping to play a small role in. It's interesting, all the years I was involved in, I guess, LGBT activism, a lot of my work was either underappreciated or outright ignored by a lot of the people who could potentially benefit from the work. So I've kind of taken myself out of that environment and just focused on trying to live my own life. But yeah, I mean, government isn't perfect, and government can't necessarily be experts in everything. And I don't want to get too political in this video, but I told you all 15 years ago Muskrat Falls was a bad idea, and here we are all these years later. Double, triple the amount of money sunk into this thing, and it's still not functioning properly. Now we want to build windmills, and I don't know. Every time you turn on the news, public-private partnerships, contracting out of services. In theory, it should work, but in practice, it doesn't because it's not done properly. And that's the problem. We see shortcuts being taken. We see contracts being given as favors to people who are friends rather than to people who are best suited to do the work. And because of that, it scares people off of this idea. I don't know. We saw the story about the nurse that was hired by a private company to work for a healthcare facility, which I believe was government managed, and they screwed that up. Yeah. There's a lot of good people out there, and there's a lot of nonprofits and charities out there that want to help people in distress. And I think it's important that government work with these groups rather than try to compete against them. I don't know. I still feel like I have so much potential to utilize the talents that I possess. And as great as it is to have a job, it's like there's constraints on my ability to contribute to the world. The trans piece is still there. understanding and acceptance of trans people, we've come a long way. In the 15 years I've been known as Jennifer. Still got a long way to go. And unfortunately there's people trying to hijack the trans label, community, whatever you want to call it. People who are not trans are saying they want to be trans too just because it's trendy, and they're taking the education and the priorities in a different direction, and that's been a problem and a challenge for me too. I don't know. We're now at an age where we're not a young professional anymore, and a lot of those goals, dreams, you've probably heard me talk about the 5 foundations of a lot of lives out there that a lot of people have and take for granted. Job, car, house, wife and kids. 5. How many of those do I have? Well, when I mean job, I mean safe and secure, permanent job that will give you enough money to work your way through the system into retirement. So, I'm not there yet. I've got debt that I've been carrying. I got to pay off this debt somehow, and I've got to put in a little nest egg, just in case I live to be old enough to want to retire. So we're not there, and there's going to be another video coming up, but the wife and kids piece just hasn't happened for me. And when you get to be almost 50, we got a little bit more than a year, and then we turn 50. At what point are you too old to have biological children and want to raise them? I've got a very tough decision to make. We all know when I came out as trans, I spent a lot of money to put sperm into a little freezer and keep it there for a rainy day, just in case the time comes when I meet someone that I want to have a family with. But yeah, that's another video. And yeah, it's when you get to be 48, turning 49, it's, well, sometimes you have to redefine success in order to achieve success. Thank you, Mr. Evans, an old boss of mine that used that term, and I'm like, that's not fair, but it works. We all have these expectations, and some of them we fulfill, some of them we don't. Glass half full, glass half empty. But then you look at your life, you'll say, there's a lot of other things that were never even on the radar. A lot of good things, a lot of amazing accomplishments that I never could have hoped or dreamed of. And in many cases, those will make up for your shortfalls. Well, I didn't get to do this, but I got to do that. I didn't accomplish this, but I accomplished that. In the end, it all trades off, and hopefully you can say you're living a pretty good life. And even if you have to say goodbye to some of those cornerstone hopes and dreams, maybe there's other stuff that makes you feel good about yourself. Coffee with a little eggnog. That's good. Oh my. Yeah. Yeah, I've been focusing on taking care of myself and surviving. Still hoping that the luck of the draw will improve for me, and yeah, I've never really been a social person. It's like there's a lot of people I haven't seen for a while. I should just reach out and say, hey, let's go grab a coffee. But I'm just not in the mood. I deal with depression, sure. I got medication for that, and it keeps me stable, but it keeps me kind of like a zombie. My emotions aren't as full or as strong as they perhaps could otherwise be. When you do that shift work for several years, it screws up your sleeping. I still can't sleep properly. This adjusting back to a 9 to 5 thing when I used to literally do all nights for probably 5 or 6 years. of course, the knee is a mess and it's painful and you can't sleep properly. So I don't know. I just got to focus on myself, self-care. I got to get this knee fixed one way or the other. Then I'm going to have to start all over. I'm going to have to lose the weight that I've gained. Wow. I'm anticipating knee surgery. I'm pretty sure it's a tendon or a ligament in there that's completely torn and severed. And that's going to be a challenge to get through. Yeah, but yeah, just having my general mobility back would be nice. And when you're constantly in pain, it's difficult to even get motivated to do anything. So yeah, I guess you could say I'm in pretty dark times and dark place right now. And Abraham Maslow talked about the hierarchy of needs, and it's tough to worry about level 3, 4, and 5 stuff when you're focusing on your core basic needs. A place to live, water, food, being able to sleep properly, being able to maneuver your body without being in severe pain. That kind of those issues, when they take up your life, you're not so much worried about going to a hockey game or a concert or any of these other things that we all love to try to do. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, and I guess we'll turn the camera off. We're 26 minutes here. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year ahead because I've got to make some major decisions and literally start planning. I guess we'll call it the second half of my life, but it's really the third. I don't know how long I'm going to live. But yeah, it's the time where you're going to have to let go of some things and say, some of these goals and dreams will never happen for me. But maybe there's some other things I can accomplish that will make up for them. Otherwise, we keep trying to survive. We keep looking for a better paying job and hope that we'll eventually be able to get out of debt and actually start saving up. And, I mean, I'd love to contribute. Heck, I sit on a board of a federally registered Canadian charity, and the charity isn't really moving. We're not doing much because, well, I'm not in a position to put more into it, and I want that to change. So we're going to be working really hard on that this year, as best we can. Yeah, otherwise, yeah, family. My parents aren't getting any younger, and I haven't seen my mom in 5 years, and she's struggling with some mental health issues as well, and I'd like to be able to do more for her. And my dad is going to be turning 80, and he's a trooper, though. He comes out to he loves Newfoundland. He wants to visit me every winter and every summer. I'm like, you got to be nuts to want a vacation in Newfoundland in January or February, but except for the COVID years, he's come visit me every January. So hoping there'll be another visit this winter. We'll try to figure it out. Last time my dad was here, we went for a walk, and I decided to explore, and I wrecked my knee. He was smart enough to say, no, I'm not going to go exploring down there. It doesn't look safe. Hi, Trinity Loop. There's another... it's funny, I'm involved with the SS Kyle Foundation, and that's the charity we're talking about here. History. Newfoundland and Labrador. It's so cool. You got all this history that's we don't want people to forget about. We've got these relics. We've got shipwrecks, one of which is the SS Kyle boat. Carboneer has this train that they were going to dismantle and throw out, and they're like, no, don't do that. Of course, this Trinity Loop came on my radar, and I had to go and see what that was all about. And when you're talking about a ghost town and you go walking around, that's what happens. The sidewalk rots, and when you take a step on the wooden porch, your knee goes right through it. But Trinity Loop, I know there's another group of people working on that. You got my support, and I hope that there's something I can do to help. I'll have to restore that little area because it was a beautiful tourist attraction, and yeah. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, whatever. I don't know what to say. This cancel culture thing is really getting out of hand, and let's just try to be nice to everyone. And the world's a mess right now. Iran, Iraq, Ukraine, Russia, that mess is just terrible. Mass shootings and violence, it's like everything seems to be getting worse. It's like, come on, people. We've all been through a rough couple of years. Let's just try to be nice here. Let's just try to respect one another, maybe. Listen. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. I can't remember who told me that, but it was... There's a reason you have 2 ears. Listen to what people are telling you and learn about them. Don't just allow yourself to be indoctrinated into hate because someone's uneducated or corrupt. Yeah, there's my Christmas message. As Jim Cornette would say, thank you, fuck you, bye. See y'all later.